How's it going, fam? Welcome back to Erica's EDC, and today we're doing some testing with two Esee knives here. I'm really excited about this. We're out here barefoot, it's summertime, we're grounding, we're playing with knives. Can't get much better than this. Guys, today we're gonna do a little bit of edge finish testing. So here we have an Esee Izula, and this has the factory edge. It's never been used. You can see it's never been used. This little black mark is just from the sheath here. So we're gonna be using this edge from the factory. And then we're also going to be using this other Esee here, which is the Candiru, I believe it's pronounced. And this one, as you can see, has a very high polish edge. Very, very reflective. So two totally different finishes. I'm really excited to test this. Let's get into some data about these first, and then I'm going to explain why we're doing this, and then we'll get into the actual testing. Also, sorry if the whole barefoot thing bothers you. I'm huge into grounding and just being out in nature, so that's what we're doing today. So, these two knives are pretty similar in terms of BTE, and the Candiru is a little bit smaller, but this one is 30 thou BTE, and this one is 33 thou BTE. So this one is a little thicker behind the edge than this one. But, ooh, that was close. But I'm wondering if this will do better at a higher polish. Even though this one is thinner, I'm wondering if this one will feel better. And the reason I'm doing this is because I have talked a lot about blade finishes, or edge finishes, I guess I should say. I've talked about that a lot on the channel, and generally speaking, I really like a lower grit toothy edge on my knives. I feel that they bite better, I feel that they perform better, but it really depends on the steel. So some steels that I enjoy more toothy are steels like S45 VN, S35 VN, Magna Cut. I like that toothy edge that they take at a lower grit, but with a little bit of testing that I've been doing, this being at a higher polish, this 1095 being at a high polish, the front end sharpness just feels so much more keen and crispy and bitey. So I'm actually wondering if 1095 is one of those steels that does better at a higher polish, because like I said, I'm always talking about steels that I like at a 600 grit DMT or even a 325 grit DMT, and I generally like that better. But I am wondering if 1095 is one that I will prefer at a high polish, because this just feels completely different. So the reason I chose these two was because, in theory, this should perform a little better because it's thinner behind the edge, so it should move through these materials a little bit better. So I put the high polish on the thicker one because I'm wondering if this will be a case where, yes, this one has thicker geometry behind the edge, but that high polish finish, I wonder if it's going to benefit us being at such a high polish. So I'm hoping that we can do this paper cut test beforehand correctly. It's just about to rain here in New Hampshire. It's just so dang humid. So let's see if this will actually work with damp paper. Yes, so you can tell, very, very sharp. Very, very sharp. Now we'll do the paper cut test, the initial paper cut test with the Izula, and this is the factory edge, which is convex. I'm figuring they do it on a belt, and it's not polished. It's sharp. It's definitely sharp. There we go. So both of them very sharp, okay? This one, I started at a 225 DMT, and I worked through a whole bunch of stones all the way up to 16,000 grit on a Shapton glass, all freehand. And then we worked through some strops with some diamond compound and stuff, and we went all the way down to 0.1 micron, I think. Yeah, 0.1 micron. So very reflective, very sharp. let's just see how they do. Now, this is not scientific at all. We're kind of just doing almost like first impressions of how each one feels. Just so you have an idea of like if it's worth it basically to bring an Esee to a high polish. And I'm sorry that there's so much talking in this, but I wanted to get all of that data in there because I think it all is relevant, right? This is basically just to see if it's worth bringing 1095 or an Esee to a high polish. So I know we're doing it on the driveway. Oh, you might hit the driveway. Sometimes I kind of hope that I do because then we can test some impact toughness, impact resistance. So this is moving through the cardboard really well. Feels good. Try the little guy. Also feels really good. It does feel like it's moving through a little smoother for sure, even though it's thicker, just feels a little more smooth. I also will say this has a disadvantage in terms of ergonomics. Obviously, the Izula is way more ergonomic because it's larger. So like this has the advantage of maybe performing better just because it's larger. You can get a more appropriate grip. But if this one is like slicing better, it has a disadvantage with ergonomics, but it could also prove a point of this high polish being beneficial on this knife. You know what I'm saying? So those both felt good. Let's just do some like feather sticking and see how each one does. We'll start back with the low grit finish. So this is doing well, but it's kind of, it almost feels like it's resisting a little bit, but that definitely I think is the wood. I think this is like a really dry spot on the wood. There we go, we've kind of moved out of that. So this is biting very, very well. That feels really nice. Definitely like you can see the hot spots from this knife, but that's not really what this video is about. But you can see the hot spots because this is kind of like shadow boxed. The blade stock rides up over the scales, so it just creates some hot spots. But again, that's not what this video is about. We can save that for another time. So that did really well, bites really well, feels good. We'll work on this side now, which is, you know, the same piece of wood. Sorry, there's a knot right there. I'm gonna try on this corner instead, I think, because that knot's getting in the way. It goes through to this side too. This definitely bites different, this high polish. Let's flip it over. There we go. Just kind of a wonky piece of wood. Oh, okay. Wow, that feels very different. So it absolutely still bites. But, oh, those are very different curls too. It's a way more smooth movement, I guess. Like it's absolutely biting. But it kind of almost like glides through easier just from feel. Now again, we've got some pretty severe hot spots starting up all throughout here, just because of the way that these are put together, but I can talk about that in a different video. So those are like more springy, fine curls, and it's I almost feel like it's less effort to get this to move through the wood. Yeah, so the high polish it absolutely shreds. Like, it bites, and it's just, I feel like this is way less effort than the Izula, even though it's a thicker BTE, smaller knife, so you do not have ergonomics in your favor at all with this. But I will say, I just feel like it's moving through way easier. Like, this feels like way less effort to get this to go down through the wood. Still bites really well. Like, you haven't lost that tooth at all. And it actually just feels way easier to, wow. So, you know, this is completely subjective. It's not scientific, and this is just my personal opinion from literally what we're experiencing right now. But I will say, I think 1095 is one of those steels where maybe it is worth bringing to a high polish. Some of them are not. S40, I will tell you right now, S45, production S45, at this high of a polish would be glassy. It's not even worth your time because it glasses out and you don't get that bite. 1095, however, this feels way better than this. This high polish feels way better. We'll just clear these off. I want to go back to the Izula for a second just to really make sure. Yeah. Yep. Oh, 100% the win goes to the high polish for 1095. Absolutely. Now, here's the other thing that I'm thinking. This is a convex edge that they're doing because I'm figuring they're running it on a belt or something. Low grit, belt finish. This, I took the convexity out of for the most part. I kind of reprofiled this, and it's definitely still convex because it's a freehand edge, so you have a level of human error in there, so this is definitely still like convexed, not nearly as much as this though. So I'm also wondering if it's worth taking that convexity out. Now granted, if you're going to be batoning and stuff, we would have to test stability, edge stability and toughness and stuff, but for this kind of stuff, the convex thick edge, it's almost, I feel like it's almost vibrating the wood, and I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick up on that, but I feel like when I'm wondering if you can maybe even hear it. Like it almost moves the wood. It's almost like it's too thick and too gritty. So it definitely works, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with these from the factory. I'm just saying, in general, the high polish feels better. It just all around feels and performs better. But this is kind of a cool little test here, just doing them side by side, because like I said, I'm a huge fan of 325 to 600 grit edge finishes. It's all I talk about on the channel for the most part. But I think 1095 is one of those steels where maybe it's worth bringing it up to a high polish. Absolutely. Because this just oh my gosh. So I'm just feeling like I can move through this so much more efficiently, faster, and more comfortably than that, even though this has the 100% disadvantage aside from the high polished blade, the high polished edge. I keep saying blade, I'm sorry, edge, the high polished edge. This has a complete disadvantage on everything else, and it still feels better because the edge finish is so polished and bitey. Yeah, that feels incredible, man. And you can do big chunks, like I'm at this point digging the knife in to try to do like stock removal here, and it just bites. It just bites with so much less effort. That is so cool. Now let's also just make sure we didn't receive any edge damage. We absolutely shouldn't from this, but it's happened before. Nothing. Nothing on either. My sweaty fucking leg has been on the paper, but let's see if we can move through this still. Still just as sharp as when we started. This one feels like maybe, no, it's good. So I'd say they're both just as sharp as when we first started. Neither of them received any edge damage from the stock removal and the feather sticking, which they absolutely shouldn't have, but just pointing that out. Although the Izula had the complete upper hand in terms of ergonomics, length, and BTE because this one is thinner, the Candiru actually felt better in terms of literal performance, moved through the wood easier, and took off equal or more stock with less effort with that shiny edge, with that high polish edge. Like I said, this is not scientific. This is literally just my opinion based off of what we're experiencing firsthand. But I'm feeling like my hypothesis for now is that 1095 is one of those steels that does do better with a high polish. I think it is. My hypothesis is it is worth bringing 1095 to a high polish because it actually feels and performs much better. And I know that the camera isn't going to focus here, but I'm really hoping you can see just how reflective that is. Absolutely worth it. That felt incredible. I will also say, before we close this out, this was very easy to do, guys. This was very simple and easy to create such a high polish. I did go through a number of stones. I did 225 DMT, 325 DMT, 500 Shapton glass, 600 DMT, 1200 DMT, 2000 Shapton glass, Spyderco medium, let's see, Shapton 16, okay, and Spyderco ultra fine. I'm pretty sure that was the progression there. Now, it may sound a little out of order, but I go by feel. A lot of stones, depending on the brand, you can have a 1000 grit Nanawa waterstone and a 1000 grit like DMT, and even though they're technically the same grit, one can feel more fine than the other. So I go by feel and by how it's affecting the scratch pattern. So if it sounded out of order by the books, it could be, but I go by how it's affecting the scratch pattern, okay? From the Spyderco Ultrafine, I moved through a progression of strops. I did, I want to say 3 micron all the way down to 0.5, no, 0.1, something like that. I really should have recorded it, but yeah, it was a whole bunch of stuff, but it did give a really nice, beautiful polish on this edge. And not even all of that was necessary, guys. I was literally just seeing how this responded to basically half of my collection of sharpening and stropping items. That's all that was for. And then I just wanted to give this like a pretty good fucking polish, and we obtained that. So, yeah, this is completely just kind of for fun here. But like I said, my hypothesis is that it may be worth high polishing 1095. If you're a big 1095 fan and you want to make it perform even better, definitely could be worth it. Nothing wrong with the edge that it comes with from the factory. Nothing wrong with it at all. But I'm feeling much more ease with the high polish. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. This was a lot of fun. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'll see you guys on the next video. Go use your shit. Learn how to sharpen your knives. And I will see you guys so soon. I love you so much. Take care.